I'm pleased to say that the Shadow Treasurer, Ted O'Brien, joins us now. Good morning, Ted.
Great to be with you, Bill.
OK, where do we go with this? You've been highly critical of the government's spending levels, accusing them of a spending spree that is basically not sustainable.
Well, that's just it, Bill, and that was the point I made this week in this roundtable of the governments. They didn't like it very much, but it had to be said. At the end of the day, my loyalty lies not with the Albanese government nor the 25 people handpicked by the Treasurer to sit in a room in Canberra, but rather 27 million Australians who are outside of that room. And those Australians, as you know, Bill, have been struggling enormously the last few years. Australian families have been constraining their own spending. They've been living within their means, and I don't think it's too much to ask the Australian government to do the same, but they're not. They've just got to stop the spending spree.
How did that go down?
I carried in the room. Oh, it went down like a lead balloon, is the truth of it. But it was an argument that had to be had.
Yeah.
I'll continue to have it because, you can't just sit in these rooms as a bystander and, politely nod your head when you have the Treasurer waxing lyrical and really just sniffing around for more taxation. He wants more money to come into the coffers to feed his spending addiction.
Was that all it was, in your opinion? Did anything meaningful really come out of it?
There were some very decent discussions, actually, around the need for reducing regulation, whether or not you really had to call a 3-day meeting to learn about the need to, reduce red tape's another story. But nevertheless, some people had some good ideas around reducing regulation, but that will all come to naught unless the government confirms that it will sign themselves up to specific time-bound targets. So how many regulations are going to be scrapped by when? Unfortunately, when the Treasurer did a summary of the meeting, he made no such commitment for that.
So there's no guarantees that anything that came out, and the recommendations, but I agree with you, and this is what we said earlier in the week. Why do you need a round table to realise there's red tape that needs to be cut? There's too much regulation and it's strangling productivity, which incidentally, 2022, wasn't productivity going to be improved at the Jobs Summit?
Yeah, exactly. So it's a different sort of a summit, but I don't know where this is going to land. And when you think about it, it's taken the Albanese government over 3 years to realise we have a problem with living standards in Australia. And then it takes them 3 months to organise a meeting that goes for 3 days. And the outcome is they're going to have a look at these things over the next 3 years. We're talking productivity. It's hardly a government that's demonstrating real action. But nevertheless, there were some good ideas from people around the table, and good on them for putting forward their views. But it shouldn't be a surprise to government that we have to cut red tape. But they need to sign up to targets and have those targets time-bound, Bill. Otherwise, it will just be an indication that it was nothing more than a talk fest.
No tax changes were ushered in, but the door was left open. You said there were some good discussions had for tax that could affect, though, home equity and the intergenerational wealth. Can you expand on any of that?
There were a lot of discussions, a lot of ideas on taxation. The main point that I made was you do not raise living standards by raising taxes. You don't tax Australia to prosperity. That's never been done anywhere in the world. That's not the way you build an economy and make people rich. There are different views on that, though. I know the government and its allies, they just want to hike taxes up further in the belief that they know how to spend people's money better than the very people who earn it. So, there was some robust discussion about that. The government basically will now go away and it'll do whatever it wants to do. I've made it clear on the coalition's behalf that, we'll be constructive where we can, we'll be critical where we must on this stuff, which means if the government wants to bring forward a change in tax, which will make the system more efficient, in other words, lower, simpler, fairer taxes, well, the coalition is very happy to engage, and we will, in good faith. But if the government comes back and says, as I expect they will, our only plan is to hike taxes up, well, we're going to oppose that. That's not what Australians need. It's not how you improve people's living standards. I mean, Bill, we're talking about the biggest drop in living standards in the developed world. That's how bad it is from Australia. And you don't turn that around by slapping more taxes on people or slugging more debt on the future generations. And they're their two strategies at the moment, debt and taxes.
Treasurer Chalmers, we know he pushed back against your criticism. There was some talk that he thought you were getting too political. Do you think there's any truck in that?
No, I think it's a glass jaw situation, to be honest with you. If you're not prepared to have the hard conversation, then don't invite me to the meeting. He is the treasurer of the land. His budget this year, they are spending $160 billion more than the coalition's last budget only 3 years ago. If you were going to keep spending like that, you have to be held to account. But as soon as there's a criticism, there's a challenge, of course, it's, you're being political. I don't care what you call it. You don't treat the Australian people like that. And I don't care what level he is, and a treasurer is an important level. I respect the office, but I don't respect the spending. It's the 27 million Australians who are paying for it, and it's for them I fight, Bill.
Well, Treasurer Chalmers has maintained that the budget repair is all about a combination, as he put it, spending control and revenue, and the government is focused on finding a middle path. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, he always says that, middle path of everything. I think it's just a slogan. It's pretty simple.
Well, it's saying nothing, really, is it?
Yeah, exactly. If you want to fix the budget, it starts with stopping the spending spree. And, if you ever hear Jim Chalmers say, well, we need to control spending, he should be called out, because I put a test to him yesterday, and that is you need to introduce rules to contain spending. Now, this isn't a novel idea. It's what previous governments did. It's what the previous coalition government did, right? We had a tax to GDP ratio. Governments, you might do spending to GDP. There's different rules that basically allows the government to tell the Australian people, we are not spending your money willy-nilly. Here is how we are containing it. These are our rules. Hold us to account. Jim Chalmers deliberately threw those rules out the window. I pressured him yesterday to restore fiscal discipline by bringing rules back. I was really saddened by his summary with the media last night. He didn't talk about that. So if he ever talks about rules, we'll introduce them. You don't just sort of leave yourself without rules and then expect the Australian people are just going to, feed your spending spree with more taxes.
Did you get any support around the table, the big round table with so many people there, or would they just leave you hanging?
A bit of a mixed bag, Bill, to be honest. I mean, certainly the union movement, they don't want any rules. They made that very clear. They're happy for spending just to keep on going. Through the course of the day, there's no doubt there are others around the table who believe there should be rules imposed. But I think because the Treasurer arced up so much as soon as he heard any criticism, I think others were just being very polite. And I think you still can be polite, but you just have to be firm. And if you're there just to smile and nod, well, find something else to do. I mean, it's 3 days of your life. As far as I'm concerned, you're there for a reason. And for me, my reason was to represent 27 million Australians who weren't in the room, who are being done over right now.
Speaking of that, I think one of the areas they feel like they're being done over in, and it's perhaps the elephant in the room, was there any discussion about energy prices in terms of trying to get that down when you're looking at the economy and household economies? That's where people are struggling a lot.
Oh, Bill, such a good question. Was there discussion about energy? Yes. Was there discussion about the energy prices? No. Extraordinary.
Wow.
And again, this is one of the points I made. There was discussion about energy, but they were talking about the wrong thing. All of the attention was about how can we get more money, more capital to accelerate Labor's failed energy plan? How can we get more skills in the country to roll out Labor's failed energy plan. I made the point on a number of times that the real question is, how do we actually get the cheapest electricity grid? That's the question to answer, but that's not the focus of this government. Instead, they are only going to be accelerating a plan which is making Australians poorer, our economy weaker, and leading to industries collapsing. So I think that's a disaster show, and it will continue to be a disaster because Labor is just trying to double down on a policy which is failing.
Do you expect anything to come out of this that will have any legs and any benefit to people listening now moving forward beyond this week?
I do think there were some very good ideas around reducing some of the regulations, the regulatory burdens. You didn't really need the 3 days to find that out, but nevertheless, there were some good ideas around how to cut red tape. But again, will those ideas be actioned? It's up to the government to actually introduce some specific time-bound targets.
Yeah.
But I'm sure some of those things hopefully will be done. On housing, the most concrete idea on housing bill in terms of trying to get more supply was basically to agree to the coalition's former policy that we brought to the election, which was basically the National Construction Code needs to be freezed and fixed up. So, I think a partial win on that. We've got to see them deliver it yet, of course. So that's good. But everything else, let's see. I'm sure there'll be a lot more media releases and talk. But, action's the only thing that can.
Yeah, absolutely. Just very quickly before we go, I know it's the state LNP conference in Brisbane this weekend. There's going to be a lot of things debated and spoken about there. You be attending that? I know Leader Susan Lee will, and abandoning the energy targets could be on the agenda as well. What are you expecting?
Yes, I'll certainly be there, Bill. I mean, I'm doing a lot of these discussions like with you this morning. I hope to get there maybe this afternoon. Certainly I'll be spending all day tomorrow there. And so there'll be a range of motions discussed. I'm sure energy will absolutely be one of them. And these conventions are good because it allows people like me who are privileged to serve the Australian people as a Liberal, as a LNP, Liberal National Party representative, to hear what the party members say and to hear what your own party members, what they're thinking, what they think the priorities should be. That's all really important input for us as parliamentarians.
Backing out a net zero, if that comes up, do you think that'll get a mention and get passed?
I don't know where it'll go, and I never do preempt where the organisational wing of the party might go, but I'm sure it will come up. Energy policy has to come up. But, where it will go, you never preempt. Just like you never preempt the Australian Public Bill, you never preempt the members of a political party. It's for them to have their say, and I respect that and won't be intervening. It's for them to have their say.
All right. Lovely to talk with you. We'll let you go. Thanks very much.
Thanks very much, Bill. All the best.
Thank you. Shadow Treasurer Ted O'Brien joining us there.